Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, and a warm welcome live from the App House in Heidelberg to our session SAP Datasphere, Recent Innovations, Roadmap and Strategy. My name is Hagen Jander. I'm responsible for product management and strategy for our data warehousing portfolio, and here today with Fabian Hartje, who leads our product management for SAP Datasphere. And we are very excited to have you here and would like to structure the session as follows. I would first start giving you an update on market and customer requirements and basically lining out the red thread throughout our strategy and what SAP Datasphere is about. Then in the main section, we will spend the time deep diving on the recent and upcoming innovations, along also customer use cases and really seeing what highlights we recently developed and what's upcoming in the future. And then we are going to conclude with an outlook of the main topics. One important aspect to mention, I already said we are live from Heidelberg and you have the opportunity to ask your questions live. So we have our team in the background who also is ready on standby, eager to get your questions, providing the answers, and we will also have some time to the end of the session to go through some of the most highly rated questions then live here in the session. Directly jumping in and basically showing where we are, first of all, as an anchoring in our portfolio. So for sure you are aware of the fact that at SAP with our entire portfolio, we strive helping you become sustainable, intelligent enterprises. And we do this with our variety of different LOB solutions that we have around our cloud cloud ERP, and all this is powered by the business technology platform as the technological underpinning. Now today we are in basically if you look at the bottom, second box from the right in the data and analytics, where we have in our strategic target portfolio 3 different solutions. At the very left, we have the extended planning and analytics use cases covered by SAP Analytics Cloud, where our colleague Christian just gave the presentation. Right in the middle, and this is the focus of today, we have SAP Datasphere covering the business data fabric use case, and we are going in a second into the details of what that is and which different functionalities this entails. And then at the right-hand side, if you are eager to explore also the full variety and spectrum of developing intelligent data applications, SAP HANA Cloud is the solution to look into. Now, in order to understand what really drives our strategy and also the key investment areas that we currently have in the focus, I would start with explaining the market and customer requirements. And if we look at what our customers tell us, what you tell us, what also we hear from analysts and the market in general, you see here on that slide a variety of topics that we cover. If I'm to summarize, these are basically 3 different main aspects that we hear. First, we have very precious data and highly valuable data residing in an SAP stack, but at the same time, we also strive for openness. We have a best-of-breed stack with a variety of different solutions, and we seek basically to achieve interoperability between the SAP world and the non-SAP world, ideally carrying forward also the understanding of the SAP data, including metadata and semantics. Second, the requirements, respectively demands from a user point of view, have evolved quite a bit towards, even as a business user, I might be interested in conducting self-service analytics, bringing my own data, adjusting some models, and we will see this in a second in a demo that also Fabian shows, on my own, or as an IT persona, I might be interested in driving or changing models with increased agility and with lower time to value. And so this is around agility and self-service, while at the same time, we for sure need to establish the corresponding foundation to also allow for governance and trust, and this all happens in a very controlled environment. And third, there's a lot of value and a lot of potential for additional use cases by basically going beyond the borders that you have in your organization and allowing for a secure data product exchange between organizations, or also the integration of external data sources. And this is all what we basically address with the so-called business data fabric architecture that is supported by SAP Datasphere. So at a very high level, you see here that with SAP Datasphere, starting from the bottom to the top, We address SAP and third-party data, so very open to also integrate third-party data. Then go through various layers covering the rich spectrum of features, including data integration preparation, including modeling, including business semantics, including governance aspect, also, for example, that comprises catalog, metadata management, quality aspects, up to discovery, consumption, sharing, and also self-service on top. I already mentioned it's covering SAP and third-party data, and so this is really crucial for us. And there's also a second aspect that's really crucial to us, and this you see at the right-hand side of the slide, because we clearly acknowledge that to address those requirements that we just laid out one slide earlier is nothing that we can do in isolation just by an SAP environment, but we clearly acknowledge we need to be open and we need to integrate with leading solution providers, tech solution providers that are out there. And this is also why we coined our so-called open data ecosystem of partners, where we partner very closely with Databricks, Confluent, Collibra, DataRobot, and Google Cloud as an example towards joint reference architectures, roadmaps, and also the engineering collaboration to establish the corresponding interfaces in both directions. Now, starting our recent upcoming innovations along the customer use cases with a perspective on what are customers actually doing, respectively, which value do they also seek to address by the different use cases where they employ SAP Datasphere. And you see already, based on the logos here, these are our official customer references that we have. We have a large number of customers, even spread across all the industries, basically spread also across the globe from a regional perspective. There are 5 different use cases, and if I start from the left, one use case I already briefly mentioned in the requirements section is around self-service. So infusing capabilities that allows business users, but also IT users to drive topics increasingly in a self-service and agile environment, for example, with no-code modeling environments that we are going to see in a second. The second is interoperability, to the point of how can I easily and in support of a reference architecture integrate now SAP data, carrying forward the semantics of SAP data with non-SAP data. I mentioned the open ecosystem of partners, and achieving such an integration would constitute the second case of interoperability. The third, and I'm not sure if data fabric is exactly the right term, but I know that this is definitely a topic that's heavily asked for and also top of mind for many of the customers I engage with, is this topic of data fabric, respectively implementing a corresponding foundation that allows me to adopt decentral governance approaches with a data product architecture. So treating data as a product, driving that kind of decentral architecture, Datasphere is the solution to allow that. And the fourth one, business AI and Gen AI, for sure top of mind as well, next to basically use cases that reside in the different LOBs and are very focused around enabling certain use cases there. For us, it's clear that the value really is in using also data and analytics and planning use cases on top. This for sure requires a proper foundation, a governed foundation, and Datasphere plays this role here in the business AI environment. And then last but not least, data warehouse modernization. So SAP Datasphere is our strategic target solution for data warehouse use cases, and then also, for example, a transition step next or after BW75 or after BW4 HANA. And so SAP Datasphere can for sure serve as the foundation for data warehouse modernization as well. And with that, Fabian, enough, I think, from the use case perspective, handing over to you to educate us on recent innovations and what we can expect.
Sure, and yeah, thank you for being with us today. Cool to have that many on that session, and I would say let's kind of roll up the sleeves and look into what the use case specifically on the business user empowerment brings, right? What we are seeing is, and why we are focusing on this, is like business analysts, they want to create insights themselves. It's about optimizing time to insights. It's about use cases that are typically from insight-driven organizations. Think of marketing, where you have a plethora of different sources, you want to get them integrated. And we with Datasphere coming from a strong position where we already are focused since day one on how do we enable specifically these business users, right? The question is then specifically around the coverage that we were doing so far when it comes to the modeling capabilities. And this year going forward, we specifically focus on the more complex, the more specific scenarios, creating this transparency and understanding of how the data flows and where it's being used, in essence, within your business data fabric. And even going forward, it's about semantic context that plays a vital role, right? Creating the proper base of semantic and rich data. And beyond, we kind of focus on how do we reuse, in the end, the KPIs, the metric definitions that are coming from the analytic models. Just with the demonstration that we are looking in right now is we are a business analyst and we are kind of targeted with, okay, go create me my target achievement. So I understand the KPIs, the metrics that I need to create, the measures that I need to bring together, right? In this case now, we are looking at the analytic model and how we in a low-code, no-code environment can very easily create and bring together the relevant data, the relevant measures. In this case, a very easy example in terms of how to do the calculation itself. But what it already shows is that how we bring the data then also back into the catalog, closing the loop for specifically these business analysts of when it comes to finding the right measures, finding the right definitions, and kind of turning it back to the consumers that are sitting outside there. This specifically on what we do in terms of business user empowerment. Going forward, interoperability, right? We understand every customer is working with other hyperscalers around where like masses of data is also locked in. And the question to us is, okay, how can we grant access to data that is sitting inside of SAP Datasphere that is being used with the other hyperscalers, but equally so, how can we absorb the data that is coming from these hyperscalers? We're looking specifically into areas of AI, ML, building the catalog of catalogs, and also the question around how can I automate my stuff? We come from a perspective, roadmap-wise, of keeping exactly this promise in the accessibility of data per se, but also how do we automate through our APIs that we are gradually delivering via the SCIM API, command line interface integration. And the remainder of this year, we are going to specifically focus on making metadata accessible through the Colibra integration per se. But also we take care of how do we integrate event stream data, but also collecting these data from a variety of sources. And speaking of event stream data, let's directly look into how easy you can expose data that is coming from within Datasphere in a table through the means of replication flows now to the outside world. We are in the shoes of a data analyst who has created a demo table. And now it's up to question, okay, how do I get this provided as a topic with certain records and a certain strategy towards Confluent. With a click of the execution, replication flow now takes care of kind of pushing the data as an event stream out to Confluent, and from there on I then can kind of consume and carry on the data right away that we had in Datasphere. And just to prove the point, right, the demo table we were seeing before with its few records is coming in. Again, replication flow as a principle is following a Delta-enabled strategy. So also I'm not always pushing full loads like shown in here, but I also can take advantage of Delta pushing the data then also into targets like Confluent, and you have a plethora of different other targets you can push the data to. Beyond that, if we are looking into the modern governance approach, right, we see a mind shift at customers. It's all about how can I kind of relieve my IT on the one hand side, bring them into the position that they kind of do value-adding stuff instead of only like handling requests that are floating in from the business. So connecting back to this use cases before, it's self-service, right? The principle of making the business analysts decoupled from the IT. On the other hand side, how do we position IT as kind of the ones that provide these foundational data products, take care of the quality and the governance approaches. And consequently, we already started beginning this year to bring together catalog and marketplace specifically, converging the experience, one-stop shop where you find everything that is inside of Datasphere, and the marketplace focusing up on, okay, how do I now install these data products of any kind? And from a roadmap perspective, that's exactly what we delivered up on. And going forward, it's about increasing transparency. So it's bringing in additional data sources into the Datasphere catalog. We continue to provide exactly the central entry point for data products, be it your data products, external data products, or even going forward, SAP data products that we plan to deliver with the next coming quarters. And then it's the information on the lineage and how we create this transparency. So ultimately, looking into the data marketplace, you're in the shoes of a data analyst, an IT person. You want to create a data product, and we just show you in a few clicks right now, how easy you can enrich the data product with the relevant information. Is it live access? Is data federated, replicated? Where should this data being shared to? Is it internal for you only? Do you want to have it consumed in a free manner? And finally, you kind of attach it to the data sets. And it can be a multitude of data sets that we are bringing together from an individual space that then collectively form together the data product, like following the principles of something like an output port, is what you are seeing already today within Datasphere and what we are doing. And then ultimately, the data marketplace helps on the consumption side, that you can start installing the data product that you recently released, where the data product handles for you as the data analyst what is visible, what's not visible, who can consume, and how you can get access to the data itself. And then the fourth element, Business AI Foundation, right? Leveraging business AI becomes a vital element, and Datasphere holds like a tremendous value of customer data today, be it metadata and data alike, right? And so the use cases that we are seeing specifically in these areas right now are not the ones that are yet utilizing Gen AI or using it as a grounding element within their large language models, but it's these AI ML scenarios. And this is what we delivered as well. If you look into the FedML library that we have out for even some more months and years even, where we already support Databricks, Data Robot, Azure ML, to just name a few. And now newly we have NVIDIA and Palantir also being supported. Just ask, support with SAP Analytics Cloud is what you have today, and going forward, specifically the model selection will be one big advancement that we will be seeing when it comes together, Datasphere and SAC. And looking forward, it's about Datasphere workflows enriched with Gen AI capabilities, jewel in the making, so to speak, backed by the knowledge graph of SAP Datasphere and the newly announced HANA Cloud Knowledge Graph together. We provide exactly this accessible and explorable metadata within SAP Datasphere, helping exactly these data and business analysts to learn on the fly what's happening inside their models. And just to give you an overview on how we bring this together, it's specifically the ontology editor that we are showing that is already in Datasphere behind the scenes. So you just see like a real business semantic model that holds like these individual relations between a product group, and all of like the relevant attributes and properties that you find behind that. And even that, we have the Datasphere metadata model that already captures today views, tables, the relations, as well as like the enrichments on this perspective. And then, finally, it comes down to how do I transition and evolve my BW, right? It's all a question about traditional BW features. How do I go forward? How do I help my workforce? And we already did a lot when it comes to the capabilities of modeling per se, right? It's these simple straight-out scenarios, and the complex are to come with inventory logic, hierarchies, etc. And then I think the most important question is always, I have my 80 terabyte system. What the hell do I do about this? And now we have the answer for you, which is our data lake option that we now announce newly with TechEd as well, where we also kind of help you with migrating your data from a BW system into the data lake option to help you specifically getting on this trajectory. And this is, I would say, the mostly huge advancement that we are doing, specifically when it comes also to how we kind of better position Datasphere in context to BW. And with that, was a wealth of topics. Hagen, surely over to you to go with the outlook.
Thanks a lot, Fabian, and great to see the full details of what we delivered along the use cases and also what's coming. So for me, just left to basically summarize also the key investment areas that hopefully have become already at least a bit teased by what Fabian said. So one is really around cloud scale and elasticity. Just to reiterate, we have this large system option, respectively embedded data lake option available right now, migrating really large systems in a cost-efficient manner, and handling this works. And this is the cloud scale elasticity, which we further work on. Second, data products integration and exchange. We have seen how important data products are, and we really double down on also making SAP LOB data products available throughout the stack. And the last point for sure, generative AI enablement, both Datasphere as a foundation for Gen AI use cases and infusing Gen AI itself. For sure, this was only meant to be like a small overview and letting you know what we all drive. So there are way more sessions at TechEd, and please feel free to dial in with our colleagues as well to learn, for example, about how to treat data as a product, or learn from our customer, Zalando Payments, about their journey, what they do. And then for sure, what's more, it's also the TechEd Virtual Learning Zone, which you are really advised to visit, basically to check out all the learning offerings if you really want to go one step deeper. And with this, thanks so far, and now we're moving to the Q&A. Great, welcome back to the Q&A, and I see many questions, also quite some highly voted questions, which hit us here. So let me pick the first one for you, Fabian.
Sure.
Will Datasphere replace BW for HANA completely in the future, or are these planned to be side-by-side tools?
Yeah, I would say that's one of the most asked questions that we get all around, and how does it go on with BW4 and Datasphere specifically. I think, look, on how we invest into our future, how we invest into specifically the capabilities, we're making huge steps in order to get on par when it comes to BW4 and Datasphere alike, right? So that specifically what you model today in your BW4 system can be transitioned into the Datasphere world. There is a clear investment path that we follow as SAP that talks about how do we help you migrate the data, how do we migrate the investments over into Datasphere. Specifically, from a perspective overall, I would say at the moment it's a side-by-side scenario that we see with most of the customers, also the use cases that we have spoken to so far. And the ultimate point is it heavily depends on how quickly you can move. And the question is how you move. Is it for you more to say, I individually kind of transition my individual cases step by step into Datasphere? I think what we see at the moment a lot with customers is that they are moving more into the new use cases, and by this kind of get into the curve of kind of ramping down on the BW for investments. Still though, add-ons and aspects around it still kind of get into the path of that we run it side by side. But maybe the question that kind of ranges also to Davon Hagen is the question, is the term Business Data Fabric the latest iteration of Datasphere, or can we expect a new product after Datasphere?
Very, very good question. As I understand, maybe to translate it a bit, is this the strategic target solution, or is there something else? And it is the strategic target solution, also building on what Fabian just said and tying in with this strategic target solution of our data warehouse portfolio. In the end, with the long-term horizon also of BW for HANA, with the maintenance plans, respectively commitment that we have in place until 2040. And this new architecture paradigm of the data fabric, respectively business data fabric, if we want, with this twist towards the close anchoring to the SAP stack, is covered by SAP Datasphere, and Datasphere is really strategic, to put it like this. Not sure if anything to add, Fabian.
I think you perfectly phrased it.
Yeah, great. I see a couple of additional questions that also go into this direction of replacing BW for HANA modeling. I'm not sure if there was anything to add on that one, Fabian.
I think we covered that well.
If not, then maybe we can pick the next one. What will be the role of IT and consultants in a world where business is fully empowered, using AI tools performing actions previously targeted to IT? I think this is an interesting one.
Yeah, I think that's hitting the spot and like connecting to some of the elements I was already talking to. And I think ultimately the question is, yes, business AI is there. Yes, it's getting a reality. And also you see from our investment strategy that Gen AI is something that we are thinking about and how to embed it. I see it that way. It's not about taking away jobs or taking away responsibilities. It's on the one hand side empowering the business users. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's these tedious tasks, right? To find on where do I need to go to now? Where do I find like the relevant information? Did I model this right? Okay, there are now hints all of a sudden that a tool can give me. But think around that. Like there is something that needs to be there as a basis, right? That is not coming out of nowhere, right? And so the specifics about the metadata and like the perspective of the foundation, so to speak. This is what I see personally is more getting onto the IT side, more getting into the hands of the IT, the technical people. And yes, it's a change. You're not longer, I would say in apostrophes, the workbench, but you are getting to a point where it's more like you lay the foundation for your business users to be empowered.
Completely agree. All right, looking at the time, I see there are plenty of questions left, but unfortunately we are already at the end of the session. Thanks a lot for joining us today. Also thanks, Fabian, for being the co-host today. As I said, plenty of additional sessions where you can basically deep dive, learn about data as a product, learn about BW, also learn about the journey of Zalando. So thanks for dialing in and looking forward to seeing you soon.
Yeah, thanks for being with us. Have a great journey with TechEd and enjoy the day.